A very good morning to all of you. We anticipate that probably we will be joined by a few more participants in the next few minutes, so we'll just make sure that that happens. My name is Gita Chud, and on behalf of JSA, Jewish Seniors Alliance, delighted to have you with us this morning. Always Our Empowerment series is a partnership with different organizations in the community. And today our partners are L'Chaim and Costco, both of which are providing for us wonderful speakers to the theme of care for the caregivers. Given that it's Valentine's Day, pardon me, and as Royce said, he wears his heart on his sleeve. Apart from romantic love, I think we're going to follow the pathway of love and caring and compassion in terms of both personal and community connections, and looking forward to learning a lot from our guest speakers and their experience. I do want to really encourage all of you to place any comments or questions in the chat. After both Royce and, Leah share with us, we will make sure there's some time for addressing the comments or questions that you put in the chat. And our wonderful Erin is going to follow through with that as we come to conclusion. So, wearing our hearts both on our sleeves, around our necks, and in our hearts, our pleasure to introduce Barb Mikulek, who is with Costco and will in turn introduce Royce, our first speaker today. Over to you, dear Barb.
Thank you so very much. I'm Barb Mikulek, and thank you for inviting us to participate in the Empowerment Series, Care for the Caregiver. What could be a better topic for Valentine's Day? I'm chair of the Costco Seniors Health and Wellness Institute. It's a registered charitable group that's nonprofit status and led by seniors. We provide free workshops on 46 topics, and you can connect with us on the website. It's seniors with an S, helping seniors with an S.ca. And we give the workshops either by Zoom or in person. And I noticed some of our presenters here today, so thank you. We now are going to hear an address by Royce Shook, one of our wonderful facilitators. He has served in many capacities as an educator for 40 years, been a teacher, a district curriculum specialist, a program coordinator, provincial curriculum coordinator, and the Dean of Curriculum and Instruction, and also at the university level. He is currently the Tri-Cities Senior Action Society Planning Committee, and also currently the Wilson Senior Advisory Board, the Mayor's Citizen Advisory Committee for Port Coquitlam, and the Council of Senior Advisors to our wonderful senior advocate. He's been with the Costco Health and Wellness Institute since 2015. And this man is very, very dedicated. And I turn you over to Royce Shook.
Thank you, Barb, and thank you for inviting me. Hopefully everybody can hear me. It's nice to see, I recognize some names of some people that I know in the audience, so it's going to be interesting discussion. I'm going to hopefully share the screen and start the presentation. I have a stopwatch ready on my side here so that I keep within my 30 minutes that I've been allocated. So I will try to keep within the frame. So I'm going to start, share screen. And you should be able to all see the PowerPoint. We're going to go through it. It's a device that we use to help keep us on track. So everybody, if you can't see me or hear me, wave so that Aaron can make some adjustments. If you can't hear me, you need to adjust the volume on your computer so that you can see me. So is anybody, can everybody hear me and see me? Can I see some hands? Aaron, everybody there? Okay, thank you. So if you have problems, sometimes I like Zoom, but sometimes it causes problems. So one of the things you can do is stop and turn off the video if you have a problem. You can also, if everything is not working or everything is frozen, leave and come back into the program. You know, like it's like shutting off your computer, turn it on, turn it back on. So if things become a problem for you, then just leave and then sign back in. That's the best way to do it. We talked about, you all hopefully have been given a handout, so keep it near so you can follow the information that we're going to talk about. And as I said earlier, type your questions in the chat box or put your name on so that when we come to the question and answer period, that your question is recognized and that we can get to it and answer it correctly. So as Barb said, we're a registered charity. Really important, we do not give professional, medical, or legal advice, and as workshops for general purposes. All of these people support us, and so we always say thank you to them for their support and their help. So what we're going to do today is talk about stress, burnout, communications, making decisions, taking care of yourself, when should you get help, and something called the caregiver's journey, which is the overall situation that we're in. The caregivers, there's a Canadian Caregiver Coalition. I'm not sure if everybody's aware of that, but they say that there are over 5 million unpaid people providing support for family members. The majority are women between the ages of 45 and 65, but the number of men who are giving care is actually increasing. And it's not inexpensive to be a caregiver. There's an extra expenses when you're caregiving, and the economic value of the unpaid work that the caregivers give has been estimated between $6 and $9 billion in the Canadian economy. So it's a huge amount of money that caregivers have to be valued at, and 60% of caregivers are caring for an in-law or a parent. So what is a caregiver? Well, a caregiver, physical, emotional support, and someone who is frail or ill. So what does a caregiver do? Well, many things. They're household and financial management. They coordinate communications. They coordinate transportation, take on the role of the chauffeur. They are the chief cook and bottle washer. They're a problem solver. They're a health aide. They're a legal assistant. They're an activist and an advocate for the person that they're caring with. And they're an executive secretary. So these people do a lot of things that we take for granted. And that's why there's a lot of burnout with caregivers, because they don't realize the weight of the responsibility that they give. There's some positive side of caregiving, personal satisfaction derived from caring for a loved one, meaningful, it feels good. Caregivers, when you're giving care, you're helping the person that you're caring for, but you're also learning about your own inner strengths and your abilities and what you can do and what you can't do. Also, a lot of people who are giving care find a sense of purpose for their own lives. We all need a sense of purpose. We all need a reason to get up in the morning, and no matter what age we are. And a caregiver has this feeling of purpose in their lives. And when you're a caregiver, it actually opens doors to new friends and relationships. And one of the things that it can do, if you're a caregiver, you can pull your family and friends together to support the person that you're caring for. So caregiving, although very stressful, It enriches life and offers a deep feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment for the person who is giving care. But there is stress involved in caregiver. There are changes in the family dynamic. The relationship between the caregiver and the recipient is altered, and everything is disrupted in your life. So there is a lot of stress that happens. One of the things that they don't talk about a lot in the literature and in the information is we talk about the caregiver, and that's really, really important. Without the caregiver, then there's major problems. But we don't talk a lot about the recipient, their perspective. How do they feel about being cared for? For most of us, we have never been cared for from the time we were probably 4 or 5 years old, right? And so all of a sudden now we're dependent on other people for our for the things that we're doing, and that becomes really, really a problem. So caregivers, and there's, you know, some seniors have a reputation for being cranky, right? And especially if someone's being cared for, they may be cranky, but they also may suffer from undiagnosed depression. The feeling of loss of independence and privacy is huge for a person who's being cared for. And some people are resentful about needing care because they don't want to be held, they don't want to be dependent on other people. We all want to be independent. So from the recipient's perspective, there's a lot of stress as well. The caregiver, the person who is under stress, the emotional impact of caregiving. High level of stress and frustration, loss of self-identity, and lower self-esteem for some. Some caregivers feel less effective and less in control, and they're prone to depression. And one of the, I think, the toughest things is you worry, a person who's giving care worries about not being strong enough to support the person that they're caring for. And they put themselves under a lot of strain and stress, and a lot of times people don't ask for help, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. There is a physical impact on caregivers, and they're in greater risk of bodily pain, obesity, heart disease, cognitive decline, short-term memory loss, alcoholism, and substance abuse. Because a lot of people, okay, I'm in a lot of stress, and they will self-medicate to make sure that they're not in that situation. So a lot of people who are caregivers may be prone to doing a lot of drinking or using cannabis or other drugs to excess. There's burnout. The accumulation of all of the things that is happening leads to burnout in caregivers. Now, not every caregiver, of course, experiences stress, but a lot do if they don't learn to ask for help. And sometimes caregivers feel that they don't have a little control over the situation and feel that they're over the head. And that's a result of burnout because they're doing too much and they're not getting the help, or they're not asking for the help. So what are some of the warning signs of burnout? Oh, by the way, if you have questions, remember to put your questions into the chat box as we go through, so that Aaron knows that you have a question about the topic, because otherwise, I would forget what I talked about 4 slides ago if I had to wait an hour before, or half an hour before I asked a question. So just type it in the chat box and we'll make sure we get to it. Some warning signs: you have less energy than you have before. They're important that caregivers have to be aware of themselves. They have to be aware of what's happening to them. The person neglects personal needs and has trouble relaxing when there is help available. They can't relax. Catching every cold or flu that's going around. Feeling grumpy, out of sorts. Sometimes you don't really feeling bad, but you just feel out of sorts, and that's part of the warning sign of burnout. Feeling angry or in tears over things that in the past were not such a big deal. So the emotionals get to you. And losing interest in what used to be preferred social activities. One of the things that people who are caregivers do is they isolate themselves from family because they don't really want to talk to people. They don't want to visit with friends. They don't. That's just adding to their stress level. So they don't do that. They don't return your phone calls. And after a while, family members just say, "Oh, why should we contact so and so? Because they never get back to us." Well, the reality is you need to get back to them, because if you don't, they will continue down that path of burning out. Burnout prevention. Learn as much as possible about the person that you're looking after. Find out as much as you can about the disease, about what the issue that they're dealing with. Don't try to do it alone. There is help out there. Take the help that's offered to you. A lot of times people will be offered help and they'll just say, I don't need help. I'm doing really well. And it's not, it's not true. And sometimes in families, what happens in a family is one person will be designated the caregiver. And other members of the family will just let them do it because that's their role. That's what they do, so they're doing it. That's great. But they don't offer respite or companionship to the person who is caregiving. So if you are in a family and one person is taking all that responsibility, you need to share the burden with them, or you need to make sure that they get the rest that they needed or the support that they needed. And you need to sit down and talk with the person who's giving the care, so that they know that you're available when they need the help. Caregivers need to know their limits, and they need to specify within their limits, and it's really, really important. Get the help you need. And there is help out there. And I think our next presenter is going to talk about the help that's available in your community for that. Lack of regular breaks or not getting assistance can lead to burnout. And if you're burned out, how can you help the person that you're caring for? It's really important. And I've known friends who have been caregiving situations, and they've gone to visit a hospital, and the nurses, every time they go in there, say, make sure you care for yourself, because if you don't care for yourself, you can't care for the person that you're taking responsibility for. So that's really important. Seek emotional support. There's physical and emotional costs to caregiving, and you need to be able to have someone that you can rely on, somebody who's a buddy, someone who is available to you. And there are support groups, but if you can't get a support group, hopefully there's someone in your family or a trusted friend that you can sit down and talk to them about what's going on. And you need to be able to share that with at least one other person. It's really important that you have the emotional support that you need as a caregiver. Otherwise you will burn out, and then you're not any good to anybody. So one of the things that we were talking is the communication with the person that you're caring for and the caregiver, if you're talking to a caregiver. So allow the caregiver to express themselves, help others understand the caregiver's needs and limits. Let them tell you what their needs are and what their limits are. facilitate getting information from the person being cared for and the health team. When you're caring for someone that needs care, you have a health team behind you. You're doing, as a caregiver, you're giving primary care, but there is a group of people who are supporting the person who's being cared for, and they're the health team. And you, as caregiver, can rely on those people, or should be able to rely on those people for help and support. So when you're talking in communications, it's always better to have, say, I need some help with, and use the I statement. I need a break, or I need some help with, rather than you never help me. Choosing a good time to have a conversation with the caregiver or with the person that they're being cared for. When everybody's rushing around and doing things, it's not a good time. You need to pick your time to have conversations. And focus when you're dealing with someone who's caregiver or a person who's being cared for. You need to remember you have to focus on the present. Remember, it's one day at a time. Yesterday is history. You can't do anything about it. It's change. You can't change it. And tomorrow is a mystery. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Right? We're hopeful that things will get better, but we don't know what's going to happen. It's a mystery. And make sure that you use a variety of techniques to talk to people. So writing and gestures, touch, facial expressions. Remember, what 90% plus of our communications is nonverbal. I need to go back. So if you are dealing with someone who is a care receiver, make sure that you let them take the lead. Be a good listener. Focus on what is being said and how it's being said, and maintain eye contact and use touch when you can. Sometimes, remember, from the recipient's point of view, they're really can be upset that they're in the position where they have to rely on you. So they're going to be uptight. They're going to be a little upset. They're going to have some guilt. And when that happens, when people are like that, they can be pretty brutal in terms of how what the words that they say. So remember that you're dealing with a person and a disease, not or an illness, not the person that you used to know. So remember that, that when you're talking to them, and remember that you can get support from groups, healthcare professionals, and emphasize that when you're talking with the care recipient, that you're on the same team. Your role is to help them, to make sure that they can do what they need to do on a regular basis. Avoid or minimize giving advice. Say, I know how you feel, and so that must be so difficult for you. Knowing how another person feels in a trying situation isn't particularly comforting, and it doesn't bring forth an explanation. I know how you feel doesn't allow that person to speak and say what's going on. So this must be so difficult for you. Then they can explain why it's difficult. So open-ended statement. And what do you feel? So get them talking about it. And sometimes we get caught on little things, and we get into quarrels and fights over little things. So don't fight over minor things. Communicating with the care recipient. Get consent from the doctor from the caregiver, so that you can get information from the doctor, and if possible, go to the doctor with the person. 4 years are better than 2. It allows you, when you're in with the doctor or the caregiver, to talk about what's being observed at home, and maybe you can get some referrals. So make sure that you've got your paperwork in place, so when you go see the doctor, if you're a caregiver, that you have that opportunity to have the doctor share the information with you. So prepare for medical appointments. Make sure that you make a list of questions you want to discuss, significant concerns, lab tests, etc. And take notes on the information. You won't remember the details as a caregiver because there's going to be so much information being tossed at you by the doctor or the medical team that you need to take notes. And you need to say to the doctor, I need to take notes. Can we slow down the conversation so that that happens? So there are three major decisions that you may be called upon as a caregiver to make. And one of those is medical, the other is legal, and the third is financial. And there are documents and legal processes. So you need, if you're doing medical, representation agreements. If you're doing legal, you need to have powers of attorney. And financial, you also need powers of attorney. So you may want to have an advanced care plan in place or an advanced directive. We have workshops on all of those topics, but you need to, if you're a caregiver, sit down with the care recipient and talk about all of these things and talk to your legal and medical team to make sure that you can get the representation agreements and the powers of attorneys and all of those things in place before you are called upon to make those kind of decisions. Because if you don't have them in place, you may not be the person that makes the decision as a caregiver. It may be taken out of your hands. You can't simply assume that you have the right to make decisions on the part of the care recipient unless you have the legal document behind you. And you're a problem solver, and you're going to be making many decisions. Remember, we talked about that at the beginning. So, and when you're doing this, please make sure that you involve the person you're caring for as much as you can and as much as legally required, so that you're making decisions with them, not for them. And that will help make and ease the problems. So making decisions, there may be uncertainty about whether or not the patient can still make decisions. What type of decisions can that person make? So you need to maybe have the medical team who can assess the capability of the person to make those decisions. And then you need to look at what legal process you have to have in place to empower you to make the decisions that you need to make. And there are also things that you can look out, for example, looking at what pension and tax options are available for example, involuntary separation. Voluntary separation is when you or the person you're caring for is put into a home and you're not allowed to go in. That's an involuntary separation. So there are some tax breaks for that. Caregiver tax expense, etc. There's a lot of things that you need to look at for that person. Make sure that you take care of yourself. Take a break, watch a TV show, eat balanced, exercise, even if it's just going for a short walk every day. You need to take care of yourself. If you don't, then it's a problem. Sleep is really important for caregivers. So 7 to 8 hours a night would be good. Look for the humor, even if it's old Christmas jokes. Make sure that you keep them handy. Keep a journal. Write down what you're feeling and what's happening. You need to take care of yourself. And writing a journal is very, very important for very many people. Watch for the signs of depression. Get help when you can. And when people offer to help, be specific. Oh yeah, I'd like to help you. Okay, thank you. Say, okay, that would be great. Can you prepare a meal for us? Can you come over and do some cleaning? Can you give them specific things that they can do? Because people will offer to help, but they won't know exactly what do I need to do. So you know what needs to be done, so you can be very specific. And one of the things that you can do by taking care of yourself is learn ways to promote the independence of the care recipient, the person you're caring for. What can you do to help them become more independent? Remember, they're just as concerned. Nobody wants to be in a situation where they're being cared for. All right. When we were babies, we loved it. and when we were small children, but as adults, we don't. So we need to be able to help the person we're caring for think or become as independent as they need to be. And there are huge amounts of getting help. Yeah, you're gonna touch on that in the next section. The daycare centers, the health, the community services that are available are huge for people. So there's respite, transportation centers, nursing homes, all sorts of assistance that you can get. Don't be afraid to ask for it. Do community support group. If you're not aware of the community support groups, do a web search. Call your local health authority. Ask the doctors or the healthcare professionals. Say, hey, where can I go get some help in my community? Because every community is different, but every community is willing and has supports. Think about joining, if you haven't already, join a support group. And the local one, if there is one, chance to develop communications. Talk to people who are in the same situation that you are. Reduce the isolations that you have. Talk to people who have some empathy for the situation that you're in. If you can't get out and about, and that's a real problem, then internet support groups. For those of you who are internet savvy, there are people from all over the world who have the same issues or are dealing with the same problems that you have. And you make sure you can join those things. But you might want to check with healthcare providers to see if they know what these groups are. You can get support without leaving your house if you're on online support. You can contact people at your convenience, and they can get back to you. And there may not be enough people in your local community to give you the support that they need. So online will help you with that. Remember, if you're a caregiver, there's no such thing as a perfect caregiver. And when people offer to help you, the answer should always be yes. And yes, you can do X, Y, or Z, not just yes, because people won't know then what do I do. You say, yes, can you help me by getting groceries for us? Or can you help me by coming over and taking, so I can have a bit of a break for 10 minutes, etc. Remember, it's really important that you are not responding to a disease or an illness. You are responding to not the person that you once knew. And that's really important. So encourage the 3 activities you maybe need to do yourself if you're a caregiver. Involve other people. Go to lunch with a friend. Give yourself a sense of accomplishment. Keep your journal. Say, what did I do today? What positive impact have I? Even one positive impact will give you a feeling of self-accomplishment, even if it's just doing some isometric exercise, if you can't do anything else. Make sure you feel good or relaxed by watching a funny movie or a good feel-good movie on TV. Remember that if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be able to take care of anybody else. And when you look in the mirror, every morning, every time you look in the mirror, you can see the special person that you are, and you're doing the best that you can do. And that's the really important part. We're all, as a caregiver, all you can do is the best that you can do. And we have, if you've looked at the handout, there are resources that you can look to for the Ministry of Health. There's a link there, Family Caregivers Network, Public Guardian and Trustees, NIDIS, if you're looking for information on representation agreements, the Alzheimer's Society, 211, 811. There are all sorts of information. There's all sorts of information and contacts within the handout that you have, so that you remember you're not alone, and that you can get the help that you need. Thank you. And it's interesting doing Zoom because I get to see, right now on my screen, I see Aaron, and that's it. I think maybe one other person. So I haven't seen reactions of anybody. So hopefully we've given you information that you could use. And if we haven't given you information that you can use, I apologize. And that what you have, what I really feel is important is if you have information and you don't do anything with it, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of my time for being here, waste of your time for sitting through the workshop. So my hope is that as a result of today's workshop, you will look at things a little bit differently, or try something new and do something differently, so that you haven't wasted your time for being here. This is an evaluation we have, which hopefully we can give out later. If you want to know more about us, as Barb said at the beginning, www.helpingseniors.ca. And if you want to do presentations like I'm doing here, we have 46 workshops. We have we do about 30 workshops a month, and we have about 20 people who are doing them. So we're always looking for new people. If you are, email Barb at President Costco Organization. And thank you, folks. I'm done. Yeah, my buzzer just went off on my
perfect timing. Thank you so much, Royce. My name is Erin. I'm going to be introducing our next speaker. But yeah, thank you. That was very interesting and informative. I really appreciate you being here. So our next speaker is Leah Deslauriers, and I'm really excited to introduce her. We've known each other for quite a few years, and Leah is the administrator of the L'Chaim Adult Day Center. And before that, for 10 years, she was the seniors coordinator at the Jewish Community Center of Greater Vancouver. So I'm sure a lot of you have met her or seen her around the JCC. And yeah, in addition to that, she also works as a board member on various boards related to seniors housing. And she not only does Leah sort of interact with the importance of caregiving and family caregiving and respite in her professional career, she's also a family caregiver for her parents. So I think we'll definitely learn a lot from her in terms of professional and personal experience. So welcome, Leah, and yeah, thank you for being here as well.
Okay, well, thanks, Erin. It's so lovely to see most of you. I don't have any slide presentation. I thought I'm just going to speak right from the heart. Okay, so I'm at L'Chaim now. I've been the administrator here for 5 years, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So what is L'Chaim? L'Chaim is an adult day center, and we are funded through Vancouver Coastal Health. So we're a medically based program. To come to L'Chaim, we need a referral through a case manager. All right, so I'll just give you a little information on what is an adult day center, and then we'll go from there. So there are 12 adult day centers through Vancouver Coastal Health, and L'Chaim is one of them. And how you become a client of L'Chaim is that you get referred through a case manager, which is through your health unit. There's 6 health units in the city, and L'Chaim is a little unique because we are culturally Jewish. And so Jews live all over the city. So we're allowed to accept clients from all the different health units all across the city, whereas most adult day centers are just for the health units where they're situated at. And the advantage of coming to L'Chaim or any other adult day center is for the client, if that person comes and gets some stimulation, physical, social, emotional, psychological, and for the caregiver. This is something I'm constantly reminding people. It's not just about your loved one. Your loved one's going to be fine. We're going to have a lot of fun. Look at L'Chaim or any other adult day center is the love boat. And we just can't wait to have you come on board. Okay. Sorry, I'm at work right now, so the phone's going to ring. What was I going to say? So yes, so caregiver burnout, we see that all the time. People are very stressed out, and we want you to know that we're here for you. We're here to listen to you. There's no judgment. You can vent. You can tell us about your day. We're here to support you and to support your loved one in this journey that you're on, which is your caregiver journey and their new way of life. I'll give you an example of what we do at L'Chaim. So the clients come around 9:30, between 9:30 and 10:30. We have coffee, tea, muffins, toast. It's like a light breakfast. And then and while they're here, we're doing activities like brain games, word searches, trivia, a little bit of just kibitzing, talking. And once all our clients are here at 10:30, we do a news and views. So we talk about current global politics, current affairs, all positive, because we all want to be happy, right? And then from 11 to 11:50, we do a circle, a fitness circle, which is excellent, and getting everyone going. And then after that, we transition for lunch. We serve a hot kosher lunch, 3-course meal. There we do a lot of socializing, and we even do some trivia while we're eating. And then after lunch, we'll usually have a program. We get to have speakers, we have live entertainment, music, we'll do games, we'll do Java music club, whatever. And then the clients go home. They can come here via Handy Dart, or they can come from their loved one. Now, what other services do? We have a nurse on staff. Most adult day centers do have an LPN or an RN on staff. So they are doing health checks on your loved one, you know, taking their temperature, taking their blood pressure, their weight. We're charting how much food they're eating at lunchtime, and we write this information down, and this information is for you, the caregiver, you know, so that we can discuss it. It's not some, you know, big brother. There's no other organization coming in here staring at those charts. Those are really for you and us to discuss. I have a very strong team. Everyone here is professional. Everyone here is here for the heart. This is not a career where you are going to get rich, but you do it because you absolutely love what you do. And I'm so thankful that my team loves what they do. And that's why we have so much fun here. I'll tell you a few things I find about caregivers. Caregivers are so protective over their loved ones, and sometimes it's really hard to let go. It's like, you know, bringing your kids to, you know, daycare for the first time, and it's okay. We let you stay the first day. We want to get to know you. We want to get to know your loved one. And then we want you to let go. I want you to just let it go, like the song from Frozen, you know. I want you to know that your loved one is going to have a great time, even when it's so hard to get them here. Because I don't want to go. Oh, I'm tired. You know, they're going to be like that. But think about it this way. Did you ever let your kids stay home from school because they didn't want to go? No, you have to try. If they're not going to come here at 9:30, you know what? Let's try at 10 or 10:30. We're open. We'll take them. You need a break. And I want you to be relaxed and just know you can do your errands, go see your friends, go home and, you know, do an edible. I don't care. Just have, you know, enjoy and relax. And then you're a better caregiver. Your loved one is happier. It's what we can do. Like I said, there's 12 adult day centers all through Vancouver, and we are one of them. We're just culturally Jewish. And all the adult day centers do offer the similar service, and it's the cost is practically non-existent. We charge $10 program fee that covers all meals, activities. We go on outings. We go, you know, we rent buses and go out. We have live entertainment. Over the summer, I brought a horse in. We had a horse. We've had cows. We have chickens. We bring, you know, we work with the JCC day camp. We work with the JCC preschool, King David High School. You know, when pre-COVID, I would let family come in and drop in for lunch. You know, we're all about community. And sometimes, you know, what's nice about being at the Jewish Community Center as a hub, sometimes people come and work out and they want to pop in and see their great aunt or great uncle or whatever, and just say hi. You can do that. Hopefully, we're at endemic stage, but I'll be able to allow people to do that again. We have a website, l'chaim.ca. Check us out. I'm looking at quite a few. Some of you are past clients, some of you are present clients, some of you I would like to see here. What's nice about knowing my community is some of you know that I will hound you, I will phone you, I see you out there, I see that you're burnt out. I'm just suggesting, you know, try it out. And what else can I say? It's at least L'chaim exists. A lot of people don't even know that adult day centers exist. It's a very underutilized resource. So I'm so glad now you're all empowered and you all know about what adult day centers do. And oh, what are my questions? Woo, look at all these questions. We are funded, L'chaim is funded for 13 clients a day, 3 days a week. I'm in the process of trying to expand that, but that's what I'm funded for. Of course, we always over-service a little bit. We take about 15 or 16 clients at the time. Some adult day centers can take as high as 25 clients at a time. It depends on the size of their thing. We work out of one big room at the J. And yeah, I think that's about it. If you have any questions, you can look me up on the website. You can, when you show up at the J, come and see me. And it's such a pleasure to see all of you this morning, and happy Valentine's Day.
Thanks, Leah. Yeah, I hope everyone learned a little bit about what adult day centers are and what they do from your talk just now. I think, you know, it is true. A lot of people don't know they exist, and this could really help someone in need of respite. So thank you very much. We're going to go through some of the questions. I'm going to look at the chat now. I think one question that could be answered just fairly quickly off the top here. Gita, you were asking in reference to Royce's talk. He mentioned some handouts, some resources related to, I think, the contents of your presentation. Royce, where can those be accessed in case people want to read them?
Well, we did email them to the organization. And our hope was that everybody who registered would get a copy of the presentation. If that's not happened, I will email it again, so you have a copy of the handout. The handout has all of the everything that we talked about in summary. It's a 3-page handout. It's got the resources on it, which we don't cover in there. So we did email it out about a month ago, I think. So if you haven't got it, I will email it again today.
Great, yeah. So can be,
and then you can circulate it to everybody who is here. If you should have everybody's email, I would think.
Yeah, we do. So if that hasn't already been sent out, which it very well may have, that's great. And then the people who weren't on that list of recipients, we can arrange that with them as well. So thank you. And then we have another question here related to caregiver burnout that I'll read now. So this could probably go to Royce or Leah, depending on who's comfortable answering. But the question just, is there a recommended regime, perhaps inclusive of exercise routine, meditation, or medication, that could help prevent the possibility of burnout? So that being caregiver burnout. And also, are there any organizations that offer an assessment service of caregivers to, I guess, determine whether they've reached that kind of burnout stage or not? If either of you are able to answer that, that'd be great.
Do you want to take it? Sure.
I think it's also based on the individual, because everybody relaxes in their own way. I mean, I've been a caregiver since I was 16 years old, and the way I relaxed then and the way I relax now are very different. My parents are at Weinberg and Leah, and I see them regularly, but I found for myself, I need to go away completely, get out of the space. So I travel. I'm going to Cabo San Lucas next week, because, you know, hey, we can fly. I've had COVID. I've all shot up. I mean, what else? I'm just going for it. So I tend to take like a real break. There's respite center. We have a respite center in Vancouver where you can actually, your loved one can stay there. You're entitled to up to 30 days a year, depending on your situation. So for me, I require a big break. I do sometimes, like to have a glass of vodka or an edible, depending on how my situation went with my dad that day. But normally, it's just spending some time with my children, or here, I'll show you my best therapy. I recommend this. This is my latest therapy, pet therapy. This is Zevi. Zevi means little wolf in Hebrew, and I bring him to work sometimes. My clients love him, and I find that just have a little dog or pet therapy really helps me.
As Leah said, it's individual. That's the caregiver. What stresses me out and what could cause me to burn out is different than what would happen with Leah. And each of us have our own unique way of approaching it, and we each know where, again, coming back to self-awareness, we all know what it is that sets us off and what helps us relax. And for me, I go for a walk, and that helps me. And it's nicer if I go for a walk in the woods as opposed to on the pavement. So each of us has an individual understanding of what it is that they need. So there's no real organization, but part of it is recognizing that you have a medical team or a support behind you. The people who are looking after the person you're caring for also are concerned about you and what's happening with you. So you should be able to talk, as Leah said in her presentation. As a caregiver, you can go down and they'll listen to you, no judgment. You can unburden yourself to them. And that will help a lot of people. So there's no real one answer, definitive answer for that question. It's individual.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. It would probably be nice if there was a fail-safe exercise regime or some kind of something that would help everybody, but I guess it really is dependent on the individual. So those were great answers to hear. Thank you. I don't see any other questions, but I was curious, Leah and Royce, you might be able to speak to this as well, depending on your experience. But Leah, you were talking about just how you tend to recognize the need for respite in members of the community or people that who are caregivers. And I'm just curious what kind of differences you might see in persons that sort of before they come to L'Chaim and use your services for respite and kind of what the impact is on them. What kind of benefits do you see there for the caregivers?
I feel that sometimes caregivers, as Royce said, feel alone. They feel like all this pressure is on them and they don't even realize how much is mounting on them until they actually get that real break. And it's different than saying having a companion or a live-in caregiver, because even then that person is under that caregiver is your employee and you're sort of over them, whereas you come here and we love you, but don't tell me what to do. I know how to run the adult day center. I'm here to support you and listen to you. So there's less of a pressure. We've been offering virtual programming now since the beginning of COVID. So it's also an opportunity for caregivers. They like to pop in. They can sort of spy on seeing what their loved one's up to. Are they participating? Are they sleeping? But they're not. And I'm cool with that. Just whatever makes them, whatever eases them, makes them feel more relaxed. And again, because I'm in community and I know community and I do see a lot of people and I see them frequently, I sort of can judge. It's just sort of a feel you get. That is not normal for adult day center, just because this is all being in the Jewish community, and I'm sure it's the same in the Chinese community or the Greek community when you see the same people all the time. So yes, I do hound people sometimes. I do sit there and talk to them, and some of the people on the screen will attest to that, and that's why their loved one became a client. But and whatever, what is that? It takes a village.
Definitely. Thank you. Royce, did you have anything to add to that? Or I'm not sure if you wanted to add a comment there.
No, I don't, because Leah has the expertise in that area. She meets people and talks to them and deals with caregivers. So no, I think, the fact that she knows the community is really a critical importance, because again, if you know your community, you can you feel safe to confide and to talk about the issues that you're dealing with as a caregiver. And I think that can only help the person who's being cared for. Definitely.
There's just a few minutes left, so we'll probably wrap things up pretty soon. But before we do, did anyone else have a question they'd like to ask Leah or Royce? I'm looking for hands, or in the chat if you want to type it in there. If not, I'll just say thank you very much again to our speakers, and I'll hand it over to Gita just to kind of do the final wrap up. But thank you so much again, both of you.
Indeed. Erin, Barb, Royce, and Leah, we thank you so very much, because from the heart, from the head, you shared all of your experience with us. We are, I think, I'm stunned by the fact that, Royce, I think in one of your earlier slides, you highlighted that there are over 5 million people in caregiving roles across Canada. Lots of the questions answered. So we really have a lot to take away today, with great thanks to all of you. Just to let you know, we very shortly will post a poll, sorry, tongue twister, requesting your feedback, dear participants, from the session today. It's very short, it's very quick and easy to complete. I think of 4 questions, and one of them asks about, into the future, what kinds of topics or themes would you like us to focus on in these empowerment sessions? We're always welcoming and wanting to give a lot of attention to your interests and views. And just to say that going forward, in April, we are going to partner with Jewish Family Services for an April 26th, 11 a.m. session that is titled Retired, Rewired, and Inspired. So we're going to meet a panel of 3 great people in our community who are going to talk to us a little bit about their earlier career path, their rewirement, and how they've become inspired to volunteer in the community. And then our spring forum, ever hopeful that by May 15th, we will be able to have larger in-person events. We have the auditorium booked at the Parrott Center, and Wendy Stewart, a very amazing musician in many ways, and 3 of her musician colleagues are going to give us an afternoon concert that's titled With a Song in My Heart, which really relates to today as well, and virtually everything. And then, as has been typical over the past number of years, we'll conclude this term's empowerment session with Kahila, that's typically entertainment based. We'll talk to Toby about who that wonderful entertainer might be, and maybe over lunch. So lots coming up in terms of JSA and partner activities all through the spring and into the summer.